Let's take a look at the fantasy basketball waiver wire. There are 3 weeks to go. We've got to be deliberate. We've got to take risks. We've got to hope those risks don't kick us in the head. Michael Bolton.
Thanks, Josh. It's Michael Bolton here, and it's time for another episode of the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast. Let's get to it.
Let's get to it, indeed.
You are Locked On Fantasy, your daily NBA fantasy podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast, brought to you by Basketball Monster. My name is Josh Lloyd and Devour Feculence. I'm also the lead fantasy analyst at basketballmonster.com, and you can find me on Blue Sky at joshloyd.bsky.social, on Twitter at redrock_bball, on TikTok at redrock_bball, and on Instagram at Locked On Fantasy Basketball. Today's episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use the code LOCKEDONNBA at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. Also, check out lockedondaily.com. Sign up, free newsletter over there for your favorite team, and you're subscribing and not unsubscribing, more importantly. Hitting the thumb and leaving your comments down below. You know what? Maybe I'll reverse psychology. Just unsubscribe. Do it. I don't care. Whatever. Whatever. I don't know. Just do it. Go. Leave. Bye. Whatever. I don't care. I'm better without you anyway. All right. Let's talk. Let's talk waiver wires. Let's hope that we can get some stuff bang on. It is National Cheese Steak Day, so we are going to celebrate the only way I know how by A, wishing I had a cheesesteak for breakfast, but also talking about one of Philadelphia's new stars. Maybe we use that term a little incorrectly there. But we're going to talk about some Sixers players. There is absolutely no debating that part of it. Let's just get into the most added players on Basketball Monster over the last 48 hours. And number one of those guys is a Philadelphia new star. It is Justin Edwards. It's been a really good run from Edwards over the last week. He has been starting for a period of time. We know George is not coming back. I do not expect that Maxey comes back. I do not expect that Oubre comes back. And I expect that Edwards starts most of the rest of the season. But as we have seen, with the four horsemen of the dick punches, Philadelphia, Washington, Toronto, and Utah, we don't know what's going to happen. They can throw random lineups out there at any point. Washington's been probably the worst at this, although Toronto's been close to it over the last week, but Philadelphia can do it at any point. We've seen them do it at any point. We've seen them just change the rotational ideas day to day. So we have to be very cautious with basically every person that we talk about on those four teams in particular about how we're going to value them, because we might get champagned, or we might get Vukcevic, or we might get Filipowski'd, or we might get Orlando Robinson, or we might get Colin Castleton, we might get Jared Rhoden, or AJ Lawson, or Jeff Doughton, or Jared Butler, or Kyle Filipowski, I think I said him already, or Bryce Sensaboard, or do you want me to keep going? I could Adem Boned, or we could literally Boned. We could get Ricky Counciled. We could get any of these things. So there's a lot of ways that this can go awry. Justin Edwards, though, has been really good. He's a top 70 player over the last week. He is playing 36 minutes a night and averaging 21 points a game and shooting 54%. I've got some doubts about those numbers. But at the moment, he's okay to use. But again, is he trending towards being too good? There are two teams that want to lose every single game from here on out. Washington and Philadelphia. There is no situation for them where it is acceptable to win a game. So just be aware of that when we make these decisions. The next most added player is Zach Ricochet. The reason for that is the back-to-back. It's as simple as that. That is the weekend back-to-back. People added him. The minutes are up, which is encouraging. He is still not doing anywhere near enough to be considered a great option. He's been okay at times. He hasn't been terrible, but he hasn't been good enough to go, yeah, we're locked in here and we love having Ricochet on our roster. Again, the number one question you ask yourself at any point, or not at any point, this time of the year, who are my worst three players? You can extend it to four. Who are my worst four players on my roster? Which one or two of those? And for this week, we're streaming one slot for the majority of people. And if you're in a 7-move league, you're streaming two. Who's my worst? Out of those worst four players, which one of those plays 3 games? Simple as that. And then they become droppable. And if Ricochet is not in your worst 4 players, A, how did you make it this far into the playoffs? But B, then that's okay. You hold him. But if he's in that bottom group and the Hawks have a schedule that doesn't make sense, bye. So yeah, easy. This is what we're trying to do. The next most added player, the third most added player, is Trey Lyles in Sacramento. I talked a lot about the Sabonis replacement and talking about the matchup stuff. And I said there are a couple of ways that Doug Christie could go against the Bucks. He could say, hey, Valanciunas, slow, plodding, strong. He might match up well against Brook Lopez. And we go back to him in that game. Or they could go the opposite way and say, let's try and exploit him with speed. I did think I lent a little bit towards the big man and the big size going against Lopez. And that's what they did. The next two games, though, for the Kings are against Boston and Oklahoma City. And I'm going to tell you now, I'm not sure there is any worse matchup for Jonas Valanciunas than those two teams. Chasing Chet and Hartenstein's in there, or Porzingis. Like, what? No. They are horrid. And the shooting and the spacing and the speed and the ball movement, that is horrendous for Valanciunas. Now, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that Trey Lyles is a good defender. He's not. But at least he can shoot and he can move a bit. So I actually do think, despite Lyles' minutes being down in the last game, I think the next two games, they're going to be up. Now, again, could be wrong. Valanciunas might get into a hot streak early in the game and they just lean into him and play him more. Totally possible. But my inclination was that the Lopez matchup would give JV a little bit more, and it did. And the next two, I couldn't think of worse matchups for Valanciunas. So anyway, Lyles over the last week, he's not rostered anywhere, 9%. 119th in head-to-head category leagues. 121st over the last week, he's averaging 12 and 7. He doesn't get defensive stats. That's not what he does. His shooting numbers aren't ideal. So he's doing this without actually blowing anyone away. If he has a hot streak, couple of games, plays 27 minutes, that's very easy value. So I actually do think that one makes quite a bit of sense as one of the more added players. The next guy on that list is Guerschon Yabusele, another one of the Sixers guys. I refuse to have trust in his playing time, or honestly, even in him playing. They've got a back-to-back Sunday to Monday. He's had a knee thing the whole way through. He played 20 minutes, and then he played 38 in the last two games. Like, what? Okay. The last time they had a back-to-back, he didn't play the second half of it. They play the Hawks on Sunday, and then they play the Pelicans on Monday. I'm going to go ahead and say I don't think he plays. I just do not think that he plays. The only thing I'd say maybe he does is that O'Shea Brissett's two-way runs out. Maybe they go to Alex Reese on that day instead. Yeah, I wouldn't be running to add Yabusele. Kai Jones, people have been adding. I believe in that one. I have no idea what to make of the Anthony Davis stuff. It makes no sense to me that he would push and come back from a where is this team going? We need to help protect your health for next season. But if he does, then Kai Jones will become useless. So there is no question about that. But we've gotten through the 2-game week for Dallas, and they start with a Monday, Tuesday, back-to-back. Very, very certain that AD won't play in those games. Also pretty certain that he won't play on Thursday or Saturday. Maybe he returns Monday at home against the Nets the following week. So I think Jones for this week, absolutely worth looking at. And in terms of contract stuff, he's got 9 games available that he can play. So he can play basically all the way through now. So I think we're pretty okay with that. The last one there is Terrence Mann, and I'm just going to give that the attention it deserves by saying he's added for the back-to-back. And today's episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Get yourself sorted, because you know that when you open up a bank app, you go, what? No, I've got more than that. There's going to be a mistake. Let's call the fraud hotline. But then you realize, no, you've been eating out. You've actually been dining out as well. You've been online shopping. You've been entertaining yourself and others. It's easy to lose track of that money. And that's where Monarch Money comes in. It's your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money is not just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center, tracking all your accounts and your investments and your spending in one place. So you're not just managing your money, you are starting to build wealth. Instead of juggling multiple apps, you can funnel them all into Monarch Money so they're all there, all in the one spot, making it easy to track, easy to plan, easy to save. So take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use the code LOCKEDONNBA at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That is monarchmoney.com. The code is LOCKEDONNBA for half off your first year. All right, let's have a look at the most added players over on the old Y. Number 1 there is Pig Williams, Jalen Williams, Jalen with an I, tall Jalen Williams, Vietnamese legend Jalen Williams. Why is Jalen Williams the most added player? Well, I don't know. I guess it's because Chet's questionable. I guess that's why. I guess it's also because 2 games ago he had a triple-double, and then he played 23 minutes against the Hornets. But that was against the Hornets, and they're playing the Clippers this time out. I don't get it. I don't get why Jalen Williams, I guess it is the Chet questionable tag, but I don't understand why we'd be rushing to add Jalen Williams. I don't get it. So we'll see what happens in that Thunder game, but I do not, for a million years, they're not playing a bad opponent. We don't have any of the centers out at this point. I can understand hedging. There was a time when we have a look at it when they had Chet and Hartenstein playing like 3 games ago. He was a DMP CD, and then he played 17. His last games, right? Pig Williams, 23 minutes. Yep, cool. 38. Yep, with everyone out. And it was 14, 17, 0, 10, 10. I don't know about that one. I'm not. Again, maybe there is something I'm just completely overlooking here, but I don't understand it. Why is Jalen Williams? And did everyone make a mistake? Speaking of, by the way, I tweeted this out, and we talk a lot about this show. How do we figure out roster percentages? There's a bunch of leagues that are dead and teams that are dead, and now we're in playoffs, so teams aren't active. So these numbers aren't reflective. Then you go and you see Quentin Grimes 65% rostered. And you go, okay, that's because leagues are dead and no one's adding him. All right, it makes sense, right? 65, he wouldn't have been rostered earlier in the season, so that maybe indicates to me that maybe more leagues are active than we thought. But why, tell me, in the last 12 hours, has Quentin Grimes been added in 1,200 leagues? What have you been doing in those leagues? What have you been doing in those leagues to just today go, Quentin Grimes, he's going all right. So you're in the playoffs, you're still active, and you've been leaving a top 10 player in the waiver wire for 3 weeks? What is happening in those leagues? These are probably the double Onyx Diamond leagues because they're just so far up their own asses that they're trying to get the player that's not even signed in the league. They're jumping on the Alfred Paytons that they're missing. What is going on? Why would that is insane to me. I understand that the percentage won't be 100 because the leagues are dead, but the fact that it goes up by 1,200 people today for Quentin Grimes makes me reassess everything about those percentage numbers. Maybe these leagues aren't dead. What is happening? Maybe there's people without access to the internet playing somehow on an internet-based provider. I don't know. I don't get it. I cannot explain that. Makes no sense. Anyway, let's go to San Antonio because Jeremy Sochan, Polish legend, is back and starting and apparently grabbing onto his dick in that picture, which I didn't realize, and putting up some interesting numbers. He's 173rd over the last week. He's averaging 25 fantasy points. He's at 16 and 6. They're already good numbers. So why is his overall numbers not superb? Well, he's not doing anything else. 0.3 steals, 0 blocks, 50% from the line. But importantly, he is now starting at center. And he is playing 33, 34, 35 minutes. I think this is we don't have very many must-add type players at this time of the year. But Jeremy Sochan, a guy that can be a top 60 guy, who's playing 35 minutes a night, who very clearly can shoot better from the line, can get blocks, can get steals, and can hit more threes. It's real to me. That is really, really, really obvious that he should be grabbed. Now, this could fall apart completely. But he played 38 and 35 the last 2 games. It would be pretty shocking to me if they go, Jeremy Sochan, you're our top 10 pick from a year ago. But down the stretch here, we're just going to bench you once again for Bismack Biyombo. How do you feel about that? That seems really unlikely. But them taking him and Steph Castle out and going, just take a seat and watch the Malachi Branham take over. I don't think so. Maybe they get too good. Maybe they win too many games. I am in on this, even though those numbers don't look good. Because it is very easy. If I'm going to sit here and tell you that, yeah, you know what? Josh Giddey is the 5th ranked player over the last 2 weeks. He's completely fake. Do not buy into it. Because bro is averaging 3.5 steals a game over the last 3 weeks, shooting 50% from 3, numbers which aren't real at all. Then the opposite is also true. When someone gets like 1 steal in a week and 0 blocks, I know that's going to come up. And this is what I'm talking about, where you report what happened, or you talk about what happened, but if you don't translate that into what can happen, or what will happen moving forward, then your view of this stuff, I think, is wrong. It's very easy to say, well, Sochan, he doesn't block, he doesn't get steals, so why would I bother? Well, he didn't block, he didn't steal. That doesn't mean that's what will happen as we move forward. And that is my general philosophy about how I do this show and how I play fantasy. That stuff is good that it happened. But that happening does not therefore we don't look at it and just, okay, now we've held on that stat, and now that's what happens every game moving forward. It's not real. That's not how we should be looking at that, I don't think. I think that's a better way to have success. Who's the next most added player? It's Superman, Khalil Ware, who I don't trust it. Is this Heat team tanking for a lottery pick? I don't know what they're doing. Ware is a guy that obviously I like, and I think he's going to be a top 50 player at some point, maybe next year, maybe the year after. His minutes have been all over the shop, but he has played 35 minutes or 32 minutes at least in 3 of the last 4 games. The problem is in the other 2 he played 19 and 15, and I cannot trust their expulsors rotation at all, but at the moment he is back starting, he is playing well, so I'm in. And I just honestly don't know what they're going to do though. It is any player on that team that's not Bam, that's not Hero, and honestly is not Wiggins, you can't trust it. Mitchell, Ware, Robinson, Highsmith, Jaquez, Burks, Rozier. You can't trust it. They could get DMP'd, they could play 30 minutes, they could play 10 minutes, they could play 25 minutes, literally game by game. But Ware is the best of that group, and we take that chance. People added Dwop Reith. All right. The Blazers' 6th string center. That is, to me, the absolute definition of chasing. Unbelievable chase. Because you know why? Last game, Reith played 33 minutes and was good. There was no Donovan Clingan or Jabari Walker in that game. And both Donovan Clingan and Jabari Walker are available on Sunday. So even if Reith plays a bit, he's not doing that. That is a chase. That is a wasted ad in the most part. And I think you will regret that. And I think that's a really obvious one as well. But we'll see. Spencer Dinwiddie, he is very clearly ahead of old mate Brandon Williams. He is putting up monster numbers. He's played 39 and 42 minutes the last 2 games. He hasn't gone under 35 minutes in 6 games. These numbers are crazy from him. And you are getting really good production. He just needs to be rostered. Monday, Tuesday, back-to-back for Dinwiddie. By the way, they just updated Anthony Davis to doubtful. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he will come back on this back-to-back. Again, absolutely stupidity from this team, but I don't know. He might, Jesus Christ. Is he coming back? All right, grab Anthony Davis if he's available. Let's see what happens. Insane. I do fear that it's a little Desi Bane where he comes back, plays 3 games, 25 minutes, and sits again. But I don't know. They're still in the play-in mix somehow. Anyway, Spencer Dinwiddie, must roster player. And then the last one is the horse, Keldon Johnson. That is definitely more points league focused than category league focused. They're not pushing him to 30 minutes or so. He's been 26-26 the last 2 games. He has had a couple of interesting defensive performances. I don't, as much as I hate him as a fantasy player in general, I don't hate it that much at the moment. There's at least a level of consistency of 26, 25 minutes, maybe 27, where he's going to be able to do stuff. I don't think he's a good fantasy player. I don't think he's a good real life player, but there's enough there to be interesting for us. Interesting, sort of. We're going to talk the most drop players. We're going to try and make sense of those. And then talk about some other hot players and some of the names that we need to talk about. The most drop players in the last 48 hours in Basketball Monster. Number 1 is Trey Jones. He's out for 2 weeks. The Bulls lied again. This is the best. Okay, this is where I'll give the Bulls credit. Thank you for lying so consistently that we know that you're lying. That's all I can ask for, is predictable consistency. I don't care that you lie. Well, I do a little bit. I do a lot, actually. But if I know that you're lying, that's unbelievably good for me. I love that. I love being able to say bullshit and it being right. That's where we're at. So it's at least 2 weeks here for Trey Jones with a mid-foot sprain. Mid-foot sprain is you do not want to hear that. That is a long-term injury, and I hope it isn't as bad for Trey, but he's done. So yeah. That, of course, means Josh Giddey is back starting and Kevin Huerter remains starting. And even though Huerter was bad last game, the minutes are enough to consider him a rosterable guy. The most drop player after that is Orlando Robinson. Yeah. Absolutely out of nowhere, the DMP. But could not have seen that coming. And it can be... We like to find reason and rhyme for things. It's why I fight with people about contract years and revenge games. Right? Because people always want a reason for something. So the reason people have... Well, of course, he was a DMP. Jakob Poeltl came back. I go, yeah. Okay, but what about every other game that Poeltl played where he played 30 minutes anyway? Or 24 minutes? Like the last time Poeltl played 25 minutes, Robinson played 30. The last time before that, Poeltl played 17, Robinson played 32. The time before that, Poeltl played 24, Robinson played 24. The time before that, Poeltl played 24 and Robinson played 24. So there was no pattern to predict this. It wasn't because Poeltl came back necessarily. then it had not been what they'd done. It just randomized. Colin Castleton had been getting good minutes, and he's got 2 days left on his 10-day. So after Monday's game, it's finished, and we'll see what happens. I get people dropping Orlando Robinson. They play just a reverse, what's a murderer's row? A feet tickler's row? Washington, Brooklyn, Charlotte, Philadelphia. Monday through to Sunday. Unbelievable run. And Robinson may be too good at times, but they're not going to be playing their starters or their main guys a lot. I think that we'll be back looking at Robinson playing 30 minutes in one of those games and people re-adding him. People dropped Deuce McBride. Understandable. Remember, the Knicks are the only team, though, with the Tuesday, Wednesday back-to-back. So if he's available to play, he is doubtful. Well, he's not actually. He's doubtful for Tuesday. So yeah, that's an easy drop. But what you would do there is you would add Campaign. Campaign becomes a very, very interesting Tuesday, Wednesday stream. And Tyler Kolek for deeper leagues. Brandon Williams dropped. Yep, easy discussion there. He's a backup and games are running out. No worries there. People dropped D'Angelo Russell. He had that huge game where he hadn't been... What? The Nets, actually, they're pretty close in what are they doing? Why are we getting 38 minutes of Cam Johnson in games? Why did D'Angelo Russell go 29, random rest? The patterns... This compared to the Bulls and their lying, this pattern makes no sense. I cannot get it. There's no way to sort of predict who's in, who's out at what point. Because they played on Thursday against the Pacers. He got 29 minutes. Not like the opponent changed because they played the Pacers on Saturday in Indiana again and he played 0 and they're non-back-to-backs. Like, well, why did that change? I don't know. I honestly don't. I guess the thing you'd say is they rested Johnson on Thursday and Russell on Saturday, meaning they're going to be the two interchangeable rest guys. I don't know. Anyway, dropping D'Angelo Russell's totally okay. And people dropped Daquan Jeffries. Thank you, King. You served your purpose. You put up the numbers we wanted and one of the most elite, unbelievable, unheralded streams that we've ever seen. He only played 24 minutes on Friday against the Thunder, but whatever. We got unbelievable production from a guy rostered absolutely nowhere across the Tuesday, Thursday, Friday combo. And like towards the end of the week, they got a Friday, Sunday, Monday run against some really bad teams. He might be back on the menu there, but yeah, like that's an easy drop and good for you for hopefully getting that into your lineup because not all of them worked, including the number one most dropped player on Yahoo is Tristan Vukcevic. And yeah, now this is what I said about him. I said I feel pretty good about Vukcevic. I think he's a really good, solid player who puts up numbers. But I don't know how to trust the Wizards. I thought he'd be relatively safe, but I said, somewhat flippantly, but I said, hey, they could just dust off out of the crypt at any point, Richaun Holmes. And they did. And Holmes played 17 minutes after being a DMP for 3 straight games, and Vukcevic played the final 4 minutes of the game. So, I don't know what to make of that. This is my attempt at trying to make sense of it. This is probably wrong. Is that Holmes is a veteran, clearly. They moved him out of the rotation, and I think what they've said is, hey, there's going to be time. We'll just give you some random playing time. I'm not going to completely freeze you out against some teams that are better. We'll put you out there. Let's see what you can do. They played the Knicks. Their next games, though, are Toronto, Philadelphia, Indiana, and Brooklyn. So I think Vukcevic will play against most of those teams, but out of those 4 games there, I would say Holmes is ahead of Vukcevic in one of them. But again, this pattern is completely, I don't know. We saw a random Justin Champagny. What about his minutes? He went from 31, 33, 39. That is when he was a must-roster player. He was a must-roster player. That makes sense as a must-roster player. Then 19, 0, 28, 22. All right, cool. No idea why. He could easily jump back up. We just don't know. So I just include Vukcevic and Champagny there. This is the most unpredictable team that we could have. Jordan Poole, 30 minutes, 10, 19, 27, 28. And now they play bad teams again. Does he play 10? I don't know. I honestly don't know what they do. Aaron Nesmith has dropped. Cool. When they are healthy, you don't roster him outside of schedule stuff. I think that I'm pretty clear on that rule. Mitchell Robinson, one of the most dropped players. Why was he added? Okay, thanks for waking up. Jackson Hayes, most dropped. Dumb, idiotic, stupid. What are you doing? Why would you drop him? The only thing I would say, and this is, if your league ends Sunday, yeah, why would you hold a guy that doesn't play? So that makes sense. If you're looking to move forward for next week, 4 games, middle of the week back-to-back, I don't know. That would not be a priority for me to drop. Kevin Huerter also dropped. Again, I'm going to guess or hope that is because the Bulls don't play on Sunday. But if people saw his game, which, again, not a Huerter guy, but if people saw his game on Saturday, went, yeah, like that, why would I bother? It was an okay game. But we're in a spot here where Trey Jones is out. He's going to play good minutes. Now, the other part that I would say about this, back to the original point. If Kevin Huerter is in your worst 4 players, and the Bulls do play 3 games next week, then he's droppable. Because you can turn that roster spot into 7 games. And 7 games of crap is better than 3 games of Kevin Huerter-based crap. Usually. Nearly every time. Nearly every time, 100% of the time, 88% of the time maybe. Let's talk about some hotties. Who's been rising up the board that I haven't spoken about already? And does it make sense to consider them? Royce O'Neal is the 66th ranked player. Is there a more inconsistent dickhead in the league? Maybe. There probably is, actually. There's probably a lot of them. But he is infuriating in terms of how Budenholzer uses him, how the shot just disappears, and then he has a game where he has 8 of 9 with 7 assists, 4 steals, 3 blocks in 39 minutes. You go, that's great. And then 20 minutes the next one. At the moment, with Beal out, it is working okay here for Royce. I don't feel good about it at all, but those numbers are clearly right there. Dylan Brooksy Brooks is the 67th ranked player. He has been, despite rightful criticism of him over the years, over the last 2 seasons, he has been, and again, I am very loath to say this, really good. Is he a reliable fantasy guy? No. Except, he sort of is at the moment. Actually, I don't want to say it, but I think we just add him. I think you just hold him. Jesus Christ, please, maybe I should erase that. Well, it's disgusting. And they do only play 3 games next week, but I don't know, man. Brooks has been, unbelievably good. Scott Pippen is the 77th ranked player over the last week. Morant has been out, and Pippen has started. Now, Morant, I have no idea whether he is available. They play against the Jazz on Tuesday. I think they might hold him out of that one. So I'm actually interested in adding Pippen for now. They do only have 3 games this week, and he could be a reserve in all 3 of them. I don't know. But he is interesting. Jordan Goodwin at rank 81. This is an easy one. He was playing well. Everybody came back. His minutes dropped. You drop him. Easy done. That is where ranking, well, I can say, Royce, Goodwin, 81st ranked player. He's averaging these numbers. That's a really hot pickup. No, it's not, because context is important. And it was good to use him, to roster him and consider him. But now you don't, because the guys are back. So bye-bye. See you later. The Hong Kong mattress, Carson Wallace is the 84th ranked player. There's context around this as well. You know who's been out all this time? Dort and Jalen Williams. And a rest for Shea. And a rest for Wallace himself. But Hartenstein's had a game, and Caruso's had a game, and that's cool and all, right? Wallace is an interesting steals stream guy who gets 3s and assists at times. He's not someone I'd look at as a lock-in top 100 player, unless we know that Williams and Dort remain out. Now, Williams does remain out on Sunday, but long-term, I don't think we do that. And the last guy I want to talk about on this list is one that's going to be available in a lot of different spots. He's rostered in 1% of leagues. His name is, on National Cheesesteak Day, Chuma Okeke, Philadelphia 76ers legend, Orlando Magic legend, New York Knicks legend. He has had a pretty wild run. This is the clear profile of a guy. Like, the numbers, ranking, 86th ranked player. Okay, cool. That's interesting. Why is that happening? Why is he subsisting on a Mitchell Robinson-like 7% usage rate? He's averaging 8 points a game. How is he even ranked anywhere near this high? This is where, again, the rankings, you need to be cautious about what you're seeing. 75% shooting. Oh, there you go. Cool. He's playing 29 minutes. He's got 7 rebounds, 2 assists, a steal, and 0.7 blocks. They are okay numbers. He played 37 minutes and then 31 minutes. And he might get a start again, but he has got 2 games left on his 10-day contract. Will he get that extended? I don't know. I think he could start on Monday or both of these games. I just want to include his name because, again, it's very easy to look at some pop-off performances and get excited about them. But overall, I would not trust these for a single second, and his contract expires after Monday. And whether they re-sign him or not, I do not know. I don't know. They might, but I wouldn't have any confidence in it. And that's one of the big things we've got to have at this point of the year, because I think that could be a waste. 6 other names we're going to talk about. I'm going to go to a guy that is rostered in a lot of spots because I want to tell you not to roster him, and that is the bucket himself, Johnny Kuminga. Kuminga returned from ankle injury. Steph is out and is going to be out for a lot of this week. And if your finals finish on next Sunday, so this is your last week, I don't think you hold on to Steph. The Warriors have 2 games in 7 nights starting on Sunday. They have a 3-day break, or they've got a big gap in the middle of the week. They barely play, and you're going to get 1 game out of Steph and hold him on your roster and clog up something else? No, you're not. As good as Steph is, if this is your final week, that is not worth holding. I know that sounds controversial because it's Steph Curry. And you go, but one game of Steph's better than anything I can get off the wire. That is true, but is one game of Steph better than 6 games you can get off the wire? No, of course it's not. It's no way it is. So you drop him. Anyway, Kuminga, you'd think that you'd do something, my guy. Like 29 usage is a lot of usage, yes? 21 fantasy points sucks. 232nd in category leagues is terrible. He's rostered like everywhere. He's averaging 14, 3, and 3. He hasn't blocked a shot. He's got 0.8 steals. He's shooting 38 from the field, and he's playing 25 minutes, returning from the ankle injury. He has historically been a terrible category league fantasy player. He needs a lot of minutes and a lot of usage, and he's not getting them. I would not bother with this, especially considering how bad of a week it is schedule-wise for the Warriors. Absolutely not worth it in my mind. The next guy on this list is worth it, I think. Dennis Schroeder. Because Tim Hardaway is out, walking boot, ankle sprain. No timetable to return. Not coming back anytime soon. Today, and we've seen the Pistons do this 3 or 4 times this season, and if I know you'll have the urge to do this, someone will. If you're like, I'm not playing fantasy next year, Cade sat today, I can't do it. Guys, come on. This has happened all season long. These rests happen at times for him all through the year. If that is what breaks the camel's back for you, you need to play a league without playoffs. This is just what happens during any week during the season. And of course, it's amplified when the stakes are there. But that is the risk you play when you have a playoff situation in your league. So Cade is out on Sunday, but Hardaway's out long term. So Schroeder's going to have an unbelievable an unbelievable opportunity on Sunday. But he's also got an opportunity to play 28 minutes a night moving forward. And that makes him, as much as I hate to say it, makes him somewhat interesting as a player to add. Colin Castleton is another interesting name. Like I said, his second 10-day is about to expire. He can play Sunday, he can play Monday, and then the time is up. And then they've got to make a call. Do they just sign him to that roster spot rest of season? Do they drop him and cycle someone else through? Do they keep him and waive Garrett Temple and put someone else in? I don't know. But I know that number is running out. 2 more games, and then they got to make a call. And they play some terrible opponents. He is useful enough for the Sunday, Monday, back-to-back stream, and then we see what they do. He could play some pretty good minutes, and I don't think we're going to get big loads of Pert or Giggity all through the week. So he's interesting for me. I do like him as an option, but again, I sort of thought Orlando Robinson might be a good option as well. And I thought we might get a bit of consistency from Tristan Vukcevic. And I refuse to tell you you're going to get any consistency from a Raptors player or a Wizards player or a Sixers player at this point. Let's go to Phoenix, though, because with Bradley Beal out, Ryan Dunn has been exhumed. He started a lot of games. He disappeared from the rotation. Both him and Osa Ighodaro, Suns media people, are absolutely pissed at the way that Budenholzer had buried these guys, and I think that's rightfully so. I'm not saying that Dunn is a world beater or anything like that, but he's 114th in category leagues. He's 114th in points leagues over the last week. He's somehow at 20% usage, and he's 4% rostered. He's averaging 14 and 7. And he's not even getting like 2 steals a game. It's 0.7 steals with 1 block. He is shooting 50% from the field. That's high. He's at 2.3 threes. That's high. But he has worked on his 3-point shooting, obviously. I don't fully trust him. But I actually think we probably can look at it as an option to add. Now, they have 4 games during the week. So if he's one of your worst 4 players, you're probably not dropping him. There's probably just enough there with him. And I don't think Beal is coming back. He might come back for Friday, maybe. But I think he's all right to look at. I think he's all right to use here, Dunn. Because I can look at those numbers, and I am, and go, okay, the shooting might drop, but he could actually offset that this week by having 1.5 steals a game. Because he's not rolling with steals at all. So that could actually happen. 2 names to talk about. Quinton Post with Curry out. Post's value is higher, but I just talked about Kuminga. And this team plays Tuesday. Then they play Friday. That's bad. Then they play Sunday. And Post has been, honestly, for a guy that nobody had heard of, he has rolled at 20 minutes a game nearly all the way through here for the last 3-4 weeks. He's shooting threes at an unbelievable volume and percentage. He blocks an occasional shot. He is a 12-team league player as a single-day stream guy through this week because it's a bad schedule week. But he has been good. The last name on the list is Trendon Watford, who was very good the other day. 24 and 30 minutes. He got ejected in that game against the Pacers and then got 30 minutes the next game. in that game where D'Angelo Russell and Zaire Williams was out. And I think Zaire Williams being out, big key to that. But Watford has shown in the past an ability to put up fantasy numbers. I don't think that we need to rush to grab him. They do play Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday. So that Friday, Saturday back-to-back for the Nets is key. And I think he will cook in that one. Now, he has had multiple hamstring injuries. And I have sat him on some back-to-back. So be aware of that, including the 15th and 16th of March, the end of their 5-game week. He sat the back-to-back. And he sat the back-to-back at the start of that week. So maybe that's the plan. We've got to be careful. But Trendon Watford is an interesting guy that just a few things could break for him this week that make him useful. I hope that you're being useful, and I hope you're making yourself a cheesesteak on National Cheesesteak Day, because that's the end of the show. What I want you to do to be useful is to leave a comment, a thumb up, and tell me, who's your favorite Chuma? Is it Chuma Akeke, or is it somebody else named Chuma that you're a big fan of? I don't know. Just drop that in the comments down below. Guys, keep things rolling positively. Just keep working. There's things appearing on the waiver wire, and we're going to make mistakes. I'm going to make them. I've made many of them. Hey, guys, look at Justin Champagny. Look at Orlando Robinson. Look at Tristan Vukcevic. Yeah, they're also useful. What great ads. I still think they're going to have some value this week, and we're going to be like, bloody hell. But these are the things that happen. We pick ourselves back up, and we grab the next guy. Guys, we are done here. Thank you so much for listening, everyone. See ya.